Good. Alright. So I wanted to give a little bit of, I guess, background to some of the like scientific reasons as to why witchcraft works, I guess, or I don't know if that's the right word. Anyway, I'm just kind of gonna ramble.
Clearly, I am drinking and decided to hit record, and I have no idea where this conversation is going to go. So you have been forewarned, and this entire video is super cringy, and my apologies in advance.
About like some thoughts I have here. And I have my like Irish coffee, so bear with me. But anyway, when it comes to like witchcraft, spirituality, like the holistic approach to shit, a lot of times people within the scientific community will like to like discredit a holistic approach or like the spiritual shit. I don't know how to word this, but just try to stay with me here. And vice versa. Like, and I'm not really going to get into anything within like the pharmaceutical industry because like corruption with that's like a whole other thing. But for example, one of the things I like to point out is like the placebo effect and manifestation mean the same fucking thing. So when you're doing kind of like ritual work or spell work or anything like that, it's more often referred to like manifesting, or like you're doing stuff to like manifest something. And then vice versa, when it is in more of kind of the medical industry or like the scientific community, they'll refer to it as the placebo effect. Same fucking thing. One does not discredit the other. A lot of times people like, I've seen videos of people going into like witch stores and stuff like that being like, oh well, that's just the placebo effect. Yeah, no shit, it's the same fucking thing. Like, either way, you're creating a result that you want with your mind. And yeah, so just wanted to kind of throw that out there. But everything has different like layers to it. So for example, like you as a person, you have your physical self, your emotional self, and your spiritual self. Same thing with like plants, for example. They're going to have like their physical self. They're going to have, I mean, yes, plants have like emotions and stuff like that, but I'm going to get more into rather than, well, I guess I'm going to kind of leave emotions like out of this for right now and talk more about like their emotional self, whatever, like they experience emotions, but then they also have their like quote unquote spiritual self, or that spiritual aspect to them. So when it comes to like their...
Alright, so I'm clearly just drunk and rambling, but even though what I'm saying might not be super like helpful or informative, you can kind of see my thought process, or like how I think, or like kind of pick up on some of the opinions I have. So here you go.
physical properties, some of that will have to do with kind of, I like to think of it more as, I'm going to word this like completely fucked up, but like their physical properties, I think of more of like the medicinal aspects to it. So like for example, tea tree oil, that's going to be like antifungal and things like that. But then there's also you know, like the spiritual properties to it, which would be like the magical aspects of it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so when it comes to like different rituals and like spell work and stuff like that, the plants and herbs and stuff you use, and when you look up their like magical properties, that's essentially what you're doing, is kind of looking up the like spiritual aspect, so to speak, like of that plant. So like oh god, I'm like rambling and I don't know if any of this fucking even makes sense, but like,
No, no, it doesn't. It does not make sense. Disregard everything I'm saying in the next, like, 20 seconds and what I just said in the last 10 seconds. I'm an idiot.
basil, for example, like the spiritual or the magical properties, it's like really good for abundance, prosperity, you know, kind of money, like things like that. Lavender would be, actually lavender used to be used for like chastity rituals and stuff like that back in the day, but then you have again like the physical properties of it, or like the medicinal, which are like that's also like antiseptic, antifungal. It like calms the skin, as well as it has like different properties to kind of like when you smell it, like be calming and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much. I'm like rambling.
See, I even knew then, while I was drinking, that I needed to just fucking stop. Spoiler alert. I didn't stop.
Okay. Pretty much, like one of the things, like, I'm so ADD. One of the things I'm like trying to get across is back in the day when alchemy was, I want to say like practice, but I mean it's still practice now. Like back like when people used to understand alchemy, I'll put it that way, things weren't compartmentalized. So everybody, not everybody, but alchemists used to understand the inner workings of everything and how everything kind of went together. So for example, like with astrology and astronomy, both are going to be like the studies of the planets and like space and like the cosmos and shit like that. However, they're compartmentalized. So you have people who are like astrologists and then astronomers, I don't know, but people who like study space, but they're not thought to go together, even though they do. Like astrology and astronomy like should go together. We've gotten to a point where we've compartmentalized things so much that we try to discredit one to kind of validate the other, and that's not how shit's supposed to work. So your brain, like your ego, and when I say ego, again, when it comes to like scientific terms for shit, like in psychology or sociology, more psychology, but people will refer to it as like your conscious and your subconscious. But then when it comes to like witchcraft or like spirituality or like holistic approaches, it'll be referred to, your subconscious is referred to as your soul, and your conscious is referred to as your ego. Essentially, like, same fucking thing, it's just two different words, so I will use those interchangeably. So ego, your conscious, soul, subconscious. So
it's a little more complicated than that. They don't mean the exact same thing, but for the point I'm making in this tangent, that'll suffice.
Whatever, same fucking thing. But anyway, I digress. So your conscious, so how you understand, or we as humans, like how we learn and understand things, is we need to compartmentalize something, because it's hard to understand the whole picture if you don't understand the certain aspects. So for example, when it comes to like psychology and sociology, people will often study like nature versus nurture. So you'll have people who will study like nurture, for example, like not nurture, nurture's environment. So like the environment and like your upbringing and shit like that, and then that's kind of studying like the nurture aspect of it. But then there's also people who will study like the nature aspect, and nature meaning like your genetics, your DNA, things like that, things that like weren't your environment. And nature doesn't discredit nurture, and nurture doesn't discredit nature. Like, you have to understand both of those in order to understand the whole picture. So it's and that's kind of what brings me to like the whole like science and spirituality thing, is people will often try to like discredit science with a holistic approach, or discredit holistic practices with science. And first of all, the fucking definition of science is like it's a means to study and trying to understand and essentially replicate nature. Like, it's one and the same. So people within the like scientific community who try to discredit nature, or not necessarily nature, but like the holistic approach or spiritual approach, like with science, it's like, you're fucking don't say the R word, like, you're fucking stupid. Sorry, I'm old, and I'm like, whenever I drink, I talk like I used to talk in high school, and that's, you've seen Mean Girls, that's kind of how it used to be, so sorry, I'm catching myself. Anyway, but
I mean, like, in Mean Girls, because if you watch that movie, they say the R word a lot. Like, when I was in high school, we used to say the R word a lot. So I went to high school in 2004 to 2008, so it was just in our vocabulary, not saying, like, any, I'm done.
then with, what was I gonna say? But then, and then you'll have people like in the like spiritual communities, or people who are like all about Eastern medicine, who like try to discredit science. And it's like, bitch, fucking science is science. Like, regardless of your opinion, like, facts are facts. Science is science. So, yeah, so whether you believe it or not, it's science. It's real, regardless of your beliefs. Fucking idiots. But then, so with that said, within the like scientific community, like trying to like discredit like more holistic approaches, like, stop, like, study it, do experiments in more like controlled environments. So for example, Dr. Emoto, he's the one that like studied water and like wrote on like vessels that like contained water, like containers or whatever, different like words, and then would study the like crystalline like the water crystals or whatever, to like compare and contrast them. Anyway,
Structure was the fucking word I couldn't think of.
a lot of Dr. Emoto's work was discredited due to not having like a controlled environment, or a controlled enough environment. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, like, all the people who went to all the work of like discrediting that, like, how about you do your own fucking experiments? Like, how about if like his shit's not able to be like published in like scientific articles and journals and shit like that, like, do it in a controlled environment. Like, all of the things that like he didn't do like adequately, like, fucking do them, so that way like you can prove or disprove it, like, rather than trying to like discredit it just because of like some factors. I digress. So that's kind of like where I come in, and why I do what I do in regards to like the stuff I make, is I like to study like all aspects of things. I was raised Catholic, didn't really like buy like if somebody tells me to believe something, like, I'm never going to. I need proof for things for me to believe something. I mean,
No idea what I did here in editing that fucked up the picture, but sorry.
Yeah, like, I identified as atheist for a long time before I started like understanding the different, I guess, science about different like metaphysical things, or yeah, like the science behind energy work. I don't know. There's so many different like communities that call things. Hold on. Yeah, there's so many different like communities, and I don't always know kind of what to call it, or like who I'm referring to, or like I don't know what to label who I'm what community I'm referring to sometimes. I now, like, I identify as a witch. I've been practicing witchcraft for a long time. But I do a lot of work with, like, this spiritual, how do I put this?
Hopefully you don't mind the interruptions. When I say spiritual community, I was drunk and thinking of two specific YouTubers in mind. So sorry for all of those who are offended. You probably are not one that I was referring to because, well, the two that I am referring to have way too big a following to ever see this video. So
before doing research, I would have also said I'm spiritual. However, I've gone down some rabbit holes on YouTube, and a lot of people within the, like, spiritual community on YouTube, I think are like, some of them I think are full of shit. Others I think are alright, so for example, this is kind of the vibe I get with a lot of people within the, like, spiritual community on the internet. People who can see can explain vision to blind people. Blind people can then learn about vision and can reiterate what it's like to have vision. However, that doesn't make them able to see. And I get the vibe that a lot of people on YouTube who are voicing their opinions about different, like, spirituality things, ideas, ideologies, whatever, yeah, it's kind of like they're preaching as though they have vision, but really they don't. They just know about it. And I think that when it comes to really anything, people should not be defensive when someone else questions what you're preaching, but also, like, if someone verbalizes that you know, they may think you're full of shit, you should be able to one, articulate why you're not and why you think the way that you do, and two, be open to what it is they're saying. So and this is kind of with all religious groups, but a lot of times when people will try to, like, discredit a belief, there's a very, like, combative type of I don't know, like a very combative communication style, I guess, that, like,
yes, I have a very combative communication style. I am a huge hypocrite. I am aware.
That's how people respond, and people would rather be right than to be informed, and so
People also love to confuse information with evidence. So, for example, if someone's like, oh, can you prove that to me? And they show you a bunch of information that's not actual, like, evidence, meaning, you know, experiments have been done or it's been studied and, like, things are published, then sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up, because you can find information stating just about anything you want. That does not make it evidence.
I don't know, that's something that, like, annoys the fuck out of me, and that's kind of why I'm, like, starting this whole shit on YouTube, where I can, like, sit down, talk about my opinion, my beliefs, as well as, like, have people come at me and be like, I don't agree with this. Here's why. I think that you're wrong because of A, B, and C. And like have me kind of like respond, but then also like look into things. Like, because I shouldn't be doing this while drinking, but I know quite a bit about like the science behind stuff and like why stuff is the way it is and like how stuff kind of works and all of that, as well as, like I said, a lot of it has to do with like compartmentalization.
Correction, I think I know a lot. I don't know as much as I should, and I am still learning quite a bit, and I look forward to continuing to learn. But just take this as not an education or me trying to teach anything. This is me giving my opinions, so that way you know how I think and why. Because if you are familiar with my business and you're buying my shit, you should know my energy, because a lot of my energy goes into it. I am not trying to teach anybody anything.
Oh, what else? I was going somewhere with this, and then I kind of got sidetracked. But yeah, pretty much. Oh, and also I love to argue, so yeah, come at me. Find it mentally stimulating, so even more. Okay.
As amazing as that ending was, I would like to say thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. Even if you didn't, I don't blame you, and thank you, even though you're not seeing this part. But yes, thank you. You're amazing. I love and appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.